Hi guys, and welcome to Honestly Alice. Can you believe it's already March? Wow, time has really flown. I just want to send a really quick happy birthday shout out to my mom, whose birthday is tomorrow. But so happy birthday, Mama. So today's show is going to be one for the record books. It's going to be intense. It's going to be one that you're going to listen to maybe once, twice. You're definitely going to have your friends listen to as well. And the topic is apologetics, right? So now you may be wondering, what is that? Well, an apologetic is basically a field of Christian theology that presents reasoned basis for the Christian faith, defending the faith against objections. Otherwise, how I like to say, they are the lawyers of the faith. I actually have an apologist on the line who is Glenn Meyer, and he's here today, and he's agreed to come onto the show and answer some really skin-crawling, intense, super intense questions about the Christian faith. Just a disclaimer, I am Christian. I do believe in Jesus Christ, but for the purpose of this episode and this episode only, I shall be playing devil's advocate. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's Glenn. Hi, Glenn.
Hey, Alice. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for coming. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm definitely ready.
Okay, so here we go. Here's going to be my first question to you. So I'm from the motherland, Kenya, and I know many Africans, Kenyans included, who are against Christianity because that is what the colonialists and oppressors used to conquer us. How do you expect me to serve the same God who allowed this to happen?
Wow, what a question.
Yep.
Just want to clarify a few things before I go straight into the question. So, I'm not from Kenya. I'm from Singapore, so the culture is really different. But, in Kenya, what is the majority of the beliefs there? If they don't believe in Christianity, what do they believe in?
So Christianity in Kenya, it's the biggest faith, followed by Islam and then Hinduism. But, yeah, so the colonialists came and they brought in Christianity, and, they stripped the Kenyan people, of their tribal religions or whatever they believed in before, and they enforced, as well as bringing English and other things in during the colonial times, they brought in Christianity. Now, Kenya is predominantly Christian because a lot of these things, we only gained our independence in 1963. We became a republic in 1964. So all of these things it's still very new. We haven't even had 100 years past, colonial era. So a lot of the Christian faith is still very new. But there's a lot of people who are in our age range, in their mid-20s, who are really starting to question Christianity because they're really starting to be like, why should I follow a God, right, that was okay with this foreign people, with the white man, the Europeans coming and oppressing me in my own land? Why should I suddenly be okay serving the same God? Because they used the scripture as well, when they were coming to colonize us. So for those Africans and those Kenyans out there who are starting to question, why should they follow Jesus?
Yeah, this is a good question. This is pretty similar to how, when someone raised the whole issue about the Crusades, they go hey, these people came and they conquered us or they colonized us in the name of, the Christian faith, and, why should we follow this kind of faith, right? I think there's two different topics right here. One is, the original message of Christianity, and then the second one is the problem of evil. How can God allow evil to start, right? But I think let's talk about, the whole issue about politicizing Christianity. So if you look at all these things that people claiming about colonization and people using the Christian faith, if you actually go back into the Gospels, right, which is what the whole Christian faith is based upon, the New Testament, right, you actually can't really find any violent verses or commands from Jesus that tells people hey, go out there and, conquer in my name, and, that's how you're going to spread Christianity, That is something you cannot find. In fact, if you actually study history, what you realize is that, the Crusades, right, and all these other things that people came about conquering in the name of Jesus, right? The first war to actually break out was actually 300 years after Jesus' death. So it took that amount of time for someone to come and change the message, or politicize Christianity and conquer in that name. And even the whole idea of just war theory, where you're able to fight in self-defense, that was only probably it only came up until like 1,000 years later after the death of Jesus. So I think for people who are struggling with this, I would ask them, I'll challenge them, I would ask them to follow the person of Christ, because Christianity is not following a church or a group or a politician. Christianity is basically we are followers of Jesus. And if you actually go look and study the person of Jesus, you realize that the message is sort of very conflicting. It's east and west, and maybe I could give an analogy here. So, for example, you live in New York for, how long have you been living in New York City now?
I've lived in New York for a year.
For a year, right? Okay. So now let's say if, someone who looks like you, like your, like maybe you have a friend who looks like you, right? And your friend goes goes to your house, borrows your clothes. You go like, hey, Alice, can I borrow your clothes? I'm going somewhere. And you go like, yeah, sure, take my clothes, right? And now this person puts on your clothes and robs the bank, right? Steals the money, and then this person comes back to your house and drops the clothes off at your bed in your apartment, right? And then after that, maybe an hour later, you get cops knocking at your door, and you go like, hey, we're looking for, can I come in? And they basically trying to match the identity of the thief, and they go like, oh, the thief basically wore this, and this, and they see the clothes on your bed, and they go like, oh, you're guilty. Like, do you think that's fair?
No.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so similar situation, right? The people who are basically conquering in the name of Christianity and stuff, they're basically misrepresenting the founder of the faith, which is Jesus Christ.
But here's the thing. I think the difference is, in the example that you gave, my friend asked me for permission, right? These colonialists did not come and say, hey, can we come and conquer you? They did not come and say, hey, can we share who our God is with you? They came and they said, your God is bogus. You need to follow our God. There was no dialogue. There was no conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like, let's say even if in that example I gave to you, your friend didn't ask you for permission and your friend just took your clothes and walked out, then the same. No.
You said my friend came to my house and borrowed and asked, hey, Alice, can I borrow, this dress? And I said, okay. I gave them the consent. They went, but then when they took my clothes, they went and they did that and they brought it back. But they asked me to take my clothes.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, let's say if I would, like, what I was trying to show you is that someone was misrepresenting Christ. So even if, let's say if we turn that scenario where the person stole your clothes, robbed the bank, and then put your clothes back on your table, like without you knowing, just like you're still sort of misrepresenting who the real person is.
I guess. I can see where you're coming from.
I think like what I'm trying to say is just more like you're sort of judging the fruit of what someone else is doing rather than the root of what is going on actually. So if you actually, if somebody actually reads the Bible and actually goes study the life of Jesus, you'll realize that he never ever said such a thing. So from that basis we can say, whatever these people are doing, that is not what Christianity is, because we can always refer to a source of like where it's coming from.
So basically what you're saying is that for the people who are against Christianity because of colonialism or oppression, then they are attacking the messenger as opposed to the sender of the message, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is what you call politicization of religion, where people will take a religion, get people to come together, and then they use their own political message to try to conquer plenty of people. And we've seen that throughout history. What I would say is that, as Christians, they're sort of de-branding the name, but, that is not something we as Christians should be doing. In fact, if they're representing Christianity, that we should apologize for them, but, we should tell people at the same time that is not the real message of Christianity.
Gotcha. Okay, so my next question for you is, in the Bible it says, "For God so loved the world, that He gave His only begotten Son," and the rest is all history. Then why are people still dying of hunger, getting raped, and being beheaded in the 21st century? Why isn't this God of yours stopping this from happening? Didn't He love us so much? Which person that loves just like, hey, you can behead them, you can die of hunger, you can get raped. To me, that isn't love. So what type of God is this?
Exactly. I mean, I had to say I was definitely expecting something like that. I mean, I've spoken to lots of people. People have always raised this, it's the problem of evil, How can such a good God, allow pain and suffering and whatever you just mentioned, like rape and, beheading and all to exist in this world, right, if He really did love us? And here's the thing, I mean, like I want to tackle it two ways, right? One from a Christian perspective, the other one from a person like an atheist or someone who doesn't believe in Christianity, hence they don't believe in God. Let me tackle the one with the atheist and the non-believer in God, since it's much thorough. So the person actually who raises this question, saying he's indirectly, implicitly saying that this God is either there isn't any God, or this God is not worthy of being worshipped because He's allowing all these things to happen, right? Mm-hmm. But the problem with this is that, He's raising a question of evil, right? And the question I would show to the person is like, if He's raising a question of evil, how is He coming to this idea of evil in the first place, So, I mean, like, I've definitely spoke to someone on the street before and someone said this to me. And so I asked them this. I just wanted to clarify certain things, So you acknowledge that there's evil in the world. And they go like, there's evil in the world. And I was like, okay, so if there's evil in the world, then there has to be good, right? You're assuming that there's a good. And then the person was like, yeah, I'll grant you that there's a good. And then I said, okay, so if there's evil, then there's a good. Then there has to be a reference point for you to decide between good and evil. That's not how you decide between good and evil, right? So that is what you call the moral law. You go like, yeah, so I'll grant you that, I'll grant you a moral law. So there's evil, and because of evil, there's good, and then and there's a moral law to decide between good and evil. So now I ask them, if there's a moral law, there's good and there's evil, then there has to be a moral law giver, because this moral law did not just, pop out of nowhere, right? And because if there's no moral law giver, then there's no moral law. If there's no moral law, there's no good. If there's no good, there's no bad. So what becomes the question? The question self-destructs. So in fact, that question, indirectly is actually saying that there is a God, So now the question is, why does God still allow evil? So now let me tackle this from a Christian perspective now. So I mean, like, the ultimate ethic, I mean, if you study Christianity, the ultimate ethic in life is love, Even if you didn't believe in Christianity, somehow you will feel that love is always the right thing. Everyone is talking about love, love. But the ultimate source of love for us, that roots the whole Judeo-Christian worldview, is Jesus Christ, right? So the ultimate source of ethic in Christianity is love. For love to happen, right, we need the freedom to choose, right? Because if we can't really choose to love or not to love, then we're kind of mechanical, right? I mean, like, and if we're mechanical, would you consider that real love?
No, but right now you're starting to sound a bit like Ravi Zacharias.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to call you out on it. I'm going to call you out on it. You sound like something I've heard Ravi Zacharias say. But here's my thing, right? So let's take it deeper. This is happening to actual Christians, right? Yep. If you are an atheist, and you're looking at Christianity, and all of a sudden you're seeing Christians dying of hunger, you're seeing Christians being beheaded, you are seeing Christians being raped, you start to question, what God is this that they serve that even their God cannot protect them from this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to the point. I mean, if you actually think about it, right, back to the whole free will and stuff, right? There are 4 different worlds which God can create. He could either not create a world, right? And then we will not exist. Second world, he could create an amoral world where there's no such thing as good, there's no such thing as bad. People can just do whatever they want to do, right? And like there's no consequences. The third world he could create would be a world where there's no evil at all, and everything is good. So like everything is good, there's no evil, we can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya together. And then the last world he can create is basically this world, And the thing is, for love to exist, the only world which love can exist is this world that we are living in, which sort of asks, which basically the person will go like, okay, so love can exist, but so why does he still allow things to happen, right? So if God stops, let me ask you a question now. Let's say there's something bad that's going to happen to you, right? And God somehow stops and intervenes and saves you, correct? Then your question will be, why does God choose to stop something and not stop other things? And the question still remains the same.
But doesn't that happen anyways?
Say that again?
But doesn't that already happen?
What do you mean?
In the sense where I've heard of stories of where people were just like, but God, like I was walking down the street and, I stepped onto the road and a bus should have hit me, but somebody pulled me away. That's an act of maybe God was saving you, or I was supposed to be on the train that got derailed and like burned, but somehow I missed my train. I missed it, and that someone could say that is God. So I think that like God does already do this. He does already stop certain things from happening. But he also allows other things from happening. Why does he allow some of the bad things to happen? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I mean, like, I can share with you from my experience and certain stories I've heard, right? So I think, like, pain is a very central issue to everyone, right? I'm not sure if you know of this disease. It's called CIPA, C-I-P-A, right? But basically, people, they're not able to feel pain at all, So these people, they basically live until the age of like 20, 25. They're very young because, they can't feel pain. Hence, they could injure themselves. They could put their hand on a hot stove. They could go play sports and their friends could bump into them and they break something internally. They will not feel it because they can't feel pain. As a result, if they can't feel pain, right, they can't actually, recover.
They can't function.
They cannot function. So part of having pain receptors is to alert you that something is wrong, and when something is wrong, you can go fix it. So now that you mentioned pain, like why does God allow pain to happen? In some sense. So it's so weird where we're always complaining about pain and suffering and stuff, but I find it even really interesting that the parents of such kids, right? They basically every single day they pray for their kids to be able to feel pain, because if they cannot feel pain, their life will be shortened. Basically, they want their kids to live a long, happy life, So, I mean, like, just by using this story or analogy, right, if in our finitude, we can understand how pain can lead us to something better, right? In God being an infinite being who's wiser in every single thing, why can't we trust him, to allow him to show us that like he uses pain to direct us to something better, which is him, where we need to rely on him to, solve things or, deal with things that we cannot deal ourselves.
Okay, but then why is it in certain cases they're extreme?
Oh, yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
Like the examples I gave you, rape, hunger, and beheading, these are all extreme. I didn't say like, you cut your toe. Like, these are extreme cases. If God is trying to use this to get people to him, I'm not sure if I want to serve this God.
Here's the thing. These questions are questions that we think about all the time. It's not something where, we just like, I want to be a Christian and, and we just ignore every single thing that's around us. There are some things that, we cannot explain, why certain things happen. We definitely cannot explain that. But I mean, like, there's a lot of things, where humans can solve it. For example, like starvation, right? You see people starving in Africa, around the world, right? We actually have enough food to go around the world and feed the world 3 times, but why isn't anyone doing it, So, I mean, there are certain issues where, the humans can solve. In fact, there are certain issues where basically humans are the one who caused it, and then they need a scapegoat to blame, and they go like, I'll just blame God, But I think the bigger picture is that, we can trust God. And the reason why I say we can trust God is because, back to the whole the start of the question is that you said he gave his son, he sacrificed his son for us, right? Like if you look at all the other religions, you're always having to serve God, and he's not doing anything for you. He's sort of impersonal, he's distant. But if you look at the Christian God, like Jesus Christ, right? God can be known. He is personal, and we have that assurance that he did not just like sit up in his throne and just watch us suffer down below. He actually came down, and he felt what we felt. He went through what we went through, So he can say like, I know how you feel. I know what you're going through, but this pain is not going to be forever. It's just temporary. Eventually, everything will be restored to its fullness. But at least we have that assurance from God that he gave Jesus Christ for us, that we can have the assurance that we can trust in him. And I mean, how to take this story back is that, let me give you another story about myself. So like I was in 2007, about 9 years ago. My dad passed away of a heart attack, and I was standing outside the emergency room. Like when you see in the movies, the doctor is walking out, and you just want the doctor to give you good news. But when the doctor gives you like bad news, you just like you just fall, you just get weak in your knees straight away. So I saw the doctor like walking out, and I was like, I can't really read the doctor. But as soon as the doctor came out, the doctor was like, I'm sorry, your dad didn't make it. My entire world collapsed, and I was like, what do I do now? But let me give you another scenario. For instance, what if that doctor who was walking out of the hospital, correct, and the doctor comes to me, you know what, Glenn, there is a possibility to save your father by giving him a new heart, and the only heart that can actually match him is my heart, So because I want to save him, I'm just going to take my heart and give it to your father so that he can live. Now, I, as a stranger who I don't even know who this doctor is, I would be like, wow, why are you doing this for me? And I can sort of like trust this guy, because he did something like that. Even though I did not know who he is, this is my first time meeting him. He has never done anything for me except that. Somehow something in me would say, this guy is trustworthy, I like that's the whole idea. So taking it back to the whole thing about Jesus sending his son for us, right? By Jesus sending his son for us, I mean, like, even though people may not know God as we know him, right, we still can say, like, we can trust this guy. God has given reasons to trust him because he sacrificed his son Jesus.
So Glenn, let me ask you, firstly, I'm very sorry about what happened to your dad.
Yeah, sure.
What went through your mind at that time? Didn't you question this God that you serve? Didn't you question why he let it happen when it happened? Because yes, death is inevitable. But
yep. Well, like, I mean, like when it happened, obviously I was really mad at God because I love my dad, and like the way he passed away of a heart attack wasn't ideal. The situation I was in at that time. But I mean, I was really mad at him. But the way I became a Christian was because I was in a really bad place, and he actually God found me. I wasn't looking for him. He was looking for me, and he basically revealed himself to me in one of those Damascus moments, where the Holy Spirit came on you and you just fell on your knees and your body is on fire and you have no idea what's going on. So I had one of those moments. I wasn't even seeking God, but basically that moment, it was because of me being angry with God and, other things where he actually revealed himself to me. And then I was like, whoa, this is real. He loves me, he cares for me. And, all that pain I was going through, it just disappeared straight away. But I mean, like, what I would say, whenever like things like this happen, like pain or death or suffering happens, it's natural for us to have that emotional response, right? Where because we are humans and we're going to respond emotionally. But life is a combination of intellect and emotional as well. You just can't live your life making emotional decisions, right? So I mean, like, in that case, I mean, like, if someone was going through that same thing, where they experienced death, I'm not going to go to the person and go like, hey, you know what, intellectually God still exists, give them all my reasons why God is good and stuff, I'm not going to do that, right? Instead, I'm going to cry with you, laugh, be there for you, give you that emotional support. But at the same time, we cannot block out the intellectual side of us that tells us, there is something out there that cares for us still. It's a combination of both. So you need to strike the right balance and proceed accordingly.
Okay. So I have one last question before we end. Firstly, two questions actually. Firstly, are you against slavery?
Am I against what? Against slavery?
Are you against slavery?
Yeah, well, who isn't?
Okay. Okay, fine. You're against slavery, right?
Yeah.
But you serve a God who asks you to give up your will and your ways and asks you to follow him. And if you don't, you'll face his wrath, which is the same as what the slave master did to the slaves. What's the difference?
I think, the question is itself really tricky in the sense that you're combining, you're asking three different things in one question. But what I would say, what I would say, these questions we get all the time. When I speak to my friends or just me and my other friend, when we go talking to people, we get all these questions as well. I think we need to really define the term, of what is slavery and what is will. When God says we are his servants, and we are his children, we are basically serving him. We have a desire to worship him, right? Hello?
But it's still serving. Hello? Glenn? Well, I don't know what happened. I don't think God was happy with our conversation that we were having. But ladies and gentlemen, that was Glenn. That's sad. I'd have loved for you guys to have heard his answer, but maybe I'll bring him back next week. But you gotta love. Oh, he's back. Hi, Glenn.
Hello.
I was just telling everyone that maybe God wasn't happy with that question, so he ended the phone call. Are you sure you still want to answer this? I think I lost him again. Yeah, no, God definitely doesn't.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, so back to the whole slavery question. So we really need to define what is that whole idea of, giving up your will, We really need to define that, because if we don't really define that, it can mean anything. I think when you say, when God is saying giving up your will, he's not asking us to, be a robot where he controls us, He's just asking us to, follow him in the sense that he is giving us the direction, but we are not going to all of us have different talents, we have different goals, and how we can use our talents and abilities, to we have that freedom to do whatever we want, but it's all rooted in Jesus Christ, When you compare that to slavery, such as what you just mentioned, right? That slave master doesn't give the freedom of that slave to do anything he wants. He has to basically, if he says sit, you have to sit. He says stand, you have to stand. Like there isn't freedom to do whatever you want, and basically the living conditions are really bad. And when you compare these two ideas of master and slave, right, it's very, very different. In fact, I don't know if I want to talk about this, or it could be opening a different can of worms, but most people think that the slavery which you see, the Civil War, right, chattel slavery, is similar to slavery in the Bible, which is very, 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 very different. The word slavery in the Bible, they use the word slave, but the Hebrew word is basically a debt servant. So basically, you actually think of it as you need somebody to pay for your house, or you're in debt, right? So you sign up to the Air Force, and the Air Force, pays for your education. And then once you serve that 5 years, you're good, right? And you have all that rights in having you can have a wife, you can have a bank account, you can do whatever you want, but you're just serving a debt service to the master in the Old Testament. So that is very different from, the whole idea of slavery. But back to your point on slavery, what we're seeing, people will always like people think that, I need to give up everything and follow Jesus. When they say give up everything, they think like give up everything like your life. So I mean, like you have goals, but it's all rooted from the person of Jesus. But what I'm trying to say is this: when you look at when people have this idea that I need to follow Jesus to go to heaven. If I don't follow Jesus, then I'm going to go to hell, right? So if you think that following Jesus is not a great idea, and even after you die and you end up going to heaven, right? Heaven will still be like hell for you because you don't want to be there. So I think people need to have a very clear definition of what the whole idea of Christianity is, because it's not a fire insurance policy.
Mm-hmm. But you mentioned that, with Christianity, when you're following Jesus, you don't really give up anything, but you do, because say, for example, I'm living in New York and I'm the party goer. I like to party, I like to drink, I like to, sleep around or whatever it is. When I'm following Jesus, I should technically, right, according to your word and the Bible, I shouldn't be doing such things. So you're asking, so for me to become Christian and for me to follow this God, I will have to change who I am. I will have to change my habit. I will have to change the music I listen to, how I dress, the people I hang out with, even the crowds that I'm associated with. So there is a change that has to happen, correct?
Yeah, but I mean, even if that change, I would argue that even that change that has to happen, it's not some negative change, like sleeping around, drinking and stuff, right? I'm sure your life is going to get much better rather than, just like, drunk all the time, pass out all the time, who knows what disease you could catch, So I mean, like, I think like whatever the Christian God is asking you to do, right, at the end of the day is just to make your life better, because He cares for you, right? He wants you to, like, he wants the best for you, and He wants you to follow, what He has planned for you. Same thing, like if you were a parent, you will definitely have, like, if you're living in the house, have you not heard your parents, like, you're living my house, my rules, right? The reason why...
I still hear that even today.
Yep, like, my mom can't say that because I'm living on my own now, but she's still, I'm your mom, But what I'm saying is, like, if we are living in a house of someone else, back to the whole parent example, even they themselves, they have rules for us, what to do, what not to do, And the reason why they have those, like, fences up for us is just to protect us and, keep us safe. So, similarly, like, whatever rules, that God has for us is not to, make us a boring person, but, just to keep us safe, ensure the best for us, and, just have a good life.
I like the comparison that you have with our parents, but one thing I can see is we don't get to choose our parents, but technically we should be allowed to choose whether we want to serve God, correct?
We don't get to choose our parents, but exactly. So, yeah. So
the rules that they have, whether you like it or not, these are the rules that you have to abide by because you don't get to choose your parents. But if you're going into a situation, why should you suddenly also be what's the word I'm looking for? Forced into that rule system.
Oh, right. I think this is what I would say, because I got asked this question before. So really simple, right? If the person doesn't believe in God, then telling this person that you have to live by these rules, right, is pointless, because they're going like, I don't believe in this, so like, why are you telling me this? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But if the person acknowledges that there is a God in this world, and I'm not talking about Christianity, just a basic God in this world, right? If this person acknowledges that there's a God in this world, then obviously the next step will be like, all right, this God who created this whole world, He has rules for how the earth functions. He has a time for when the sun sets to when the sun rises. Everything is designed and organized in a perfect place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of what is right and wrong, in terms of morality, it's safe to assume that that it's only natural that this God has a certain way for us to live. Like what is His plan for us to live by, right? And if we choose not to follow His plans for how to live by, then the person is actually being like a little bit narrow-minded and trying to invent his own rules. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can't have it both ways. If you acknowledge there's a God, then it's up to the individual to go like, all right, what does this God want from me? What does he want from this life? Does he want to be like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, you know? If he does that, I'm pretty sure the world will be in chaos, you know? So everything that's a step
I think the world
you know?
already is in chaos.
Yeah, exactly. People trying to do whatever they want.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Glenn. But before I let you go, Glenn, I'm going to give you 15 seconds of fame to tell people who you are, how they can get in contact with you, and all that good stuff. So go.
15 seconds of fame. So, you could find me on Facebook with Alice. I'm a friend. I have my own YouTube channel. If you Google like Glenn Meyer Bible, you know, search Glenn Meyer Apologetics or Glenn Meyer Bible or Glenn Meyer Religion, you will definitely find like videos of me online. Or you can go to Instagram, hey_Glenn with a double N.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Glenn, for coming and for answering these questions. It was tough for me to ask these questions, I'm going to be honest, because we do believe in the same God, we do believe in Jesus, but playing the devil's advocate is hard. And I hope I did it justice. I really hope. I really do. I do. I really enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. I'm Alice. You've been listening to Honestly Alice, and may your dreams become your reality. Bye.
Bye.